Download the BCSN Plus app today.
Much like the Rose Bowl in the 70s, the Citrus Bowl in the 90s, the Fiesta Bowl in the aughts, Ohio State and the Cotton Bowl are going hand in hand in the 20s. Third straight season they're in Dallas. We're joined now by Dave Briggs from the Toledo Blade. And Dave, as much as we want to talk about the familiarity, every single Ohio State player will tell you, new team, new year, new story.
Sure, absolutely, and that's kind of why it's funny that we're talking about the narratives kind of around the 2003 Fiesta Bowl, the big rematch of Ohio State-Miami. Well, none of the players were born there. History can't block and tackle, so yeah, it's a completely new team. It's even a new Ohio State team, so.
It's certainly interesting. Ohio State's always recruited South Florida well. Jeremiah Smith from Miami. Circumstances a little bit different a few years ago. Maybe he's a Hurricane, but he is a Buckeye. Ohio State very glad to have Jeremiah Smith. But all those Miami guys on Ohio State adding an interesting subtext to this, and a lot of talk about Jeremiah Smith. Maybe he should have been to Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. One of our colleagues asked Jeremiah Smith yesterday if Miami had kind of had the recent history of success that Ohio State has had, would he have gone to Miami? And he said, yeah, I probably would have, but Ohio State was the more proven product. They had kind of been the assembly line of receivers to the NFL. So, but yeah, it's fascinating. They did get a big-time recruit this year, freshman Malachi Toney, so that's a big deal. But it's kind of, it's a chess piece, honestly, where if you put Jeremiah Smith on their team and Ohio State didn't have him, we might be picking Miami. I don't know. I mean, Ohio State still probably has more talent, but he's that big of a deal as we saw in the playoffs last year, and he probably should be now fully healthy going forward here.
Ohio State, a more than touchdown favorite against Miami. And when we talk to the Ohio State players about this lengthy layoff from the Big Ten championship game to this game, they talk about practice, how intense practice was, going good on good, and how they think that's going to be the difference, because the fact of the matter is Ohio State's offense going up against that defense every day in practice makes both sides better.
Sure, absolutely. There's no better practice there than going up against the number one defense in the country for because you're hearing about the pressure they're going to face from Miami's defensive front and this and that. But if they're when you have 3 weeks off, you're going to have some hitting. You're going to go live, and there's no better practice for each of them. So yeah, I think that's only a positive. You look at Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, some other nicks and dings here and there. Ohio State at full strength off 3 weeks. I know last year you looked at the teams with the byes, they struggled. I don't think that'll be an issue here.
We talked about new year, new team, new coordinators. Yeah. Matt Patricia, new defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and certainly a lot of people were panning that decision when it happened a few months ago, and you talked to Patricia about that this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was one of the people who has been proven kind of a moron here and roasting that hire. And it wasn't so much that he failed in Detroit. Good head coaches or good coordinators crash as head coaches all the time. It was more just kind of questioning how much of his success in New England as a defensive coordinator was because of Bill Belichick and how much was his own. And more so, it was how he acted in Detroit. He was kind of a bristling, imperious Belichick-type figure, and wondering how that act would play with college kids. But, to his credit, he's been just the joy and humility. Like, he is a completely different person. If the Matt Patricia from Detroit came to Ohio State, it would not have worked. He is different. He's learned. He's been humbled, talked about the lessons he learned in Detroit. And now you listen to the players. I mean, I think it's pretty clear they like playing for him more than they like playing for Jim Knowles. And Jim Knowles was a huge success with the top defense last year. So nothing but a roaring success there. Top defense last year, and they get even better this year. Hard to believe.
And there's going to be a new offensive coordinator next season for the Buckeyes as well. Brian Hartline off to South Florida. He'll remain with the team through this run. I think that provided a distraction against Indiana. That with a signing day, do you think they put that stuff behind them? Are we going to see the type of offense we got used to in last year's playoff run, or are we going to continue to grind things out on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, certainly another great defense in Miami, but I do think you're right. That was a distraction with Brian Hartline accepting the South Florida job that week. They had, signing day that week, some other drama. So yeah, and it's interesting that Brian Hartline, obviously Ryan Day's going back to calling the plays. Keenan Bailey is going up to the booth. Brian Hartline's going down to the field, kind of just going to focus on coaching the receivers, what he does best. So yeah, I think, we've seen Ryan Day when he cuts loose. He's as good of a play caller as there is. And him teaming with Chip Kelly last year, that was quite a run. So I do think Yeah, I think the play calling played a large part in the Indiana game, and I think that'll be, ideally it will be fixed, and I think it will be.
We know there'll be a new offensive coordinator next season. We also know now it will not be the return of Chip Kelly, former Buckeye offensive coordinator, signing with Northwestern today. So he'll be the Wildcats offensive coordinator going forward. Of course, much more from Dave on the Toledo Blade and the Blade's website, and we'll have much more from the Cotton Bowl in the days ahead on BCSNNation.com. But for now, let's send it back to you.